Awesome, awesome. Hey, everybody, it's John Tarr. Super excited to be here with you tonight. And let's see, yeah, like he said, tonight, today, wherever you're at in the world, let's find out, where are you at in the world? We've got a bunch of people kind of coming on here right now. So let's find out where everybody's at. I'm coming to you today from Scottsdale, Arizona. And I'm going to introduce my partner, Roger, here in a second. He is coming to you from Akron, Ohio, beautiful Akron, Ohio. Where are you all at? Tell us where you guys are at. And Utah, awesome. Great, Rob. Love me some Utah. Toronto, Noreen, welcome. And so now it's officially an international call. I love this community because there's so many international people involved. So that's awesome. Thailand, Aubrey comes on and makes it more international. Australia, John, welcome. I love that. Australia, it's like next week in Australia. So welcome, John. I always give my Australian friends a hard time because I tell them that they ought to be able to predict everything because it's tomorrow there. So anyway, not sure if that's only funny to me. Rod says Toronto. Welcome, Rod. Roger, you want to just say hi real quick? I know you're back there, and I'm going to give you a proper introduction, but you might want to jump in here and say hey.
Hello, everyone.
Where are you actually at? You're not even officially in Akron. You're in a smaller place than Akron.
Oh, about 20 miles south of Akron in a small city called Canal Fulton.
Canal Fulton. When Akron's just too big, everybody.
Akron's just too big.
Awesome. Well, we've got more Canada, Toronto, so lots of people here. So, well, welcome. We appreciate you guys being here. We know your time's valuable, and I think you're really going to enjoy what we've got to share here. At least I'm hoping so. One of the things you'll find out about Roger and I real fast is that we enjoy teaching. And so a lot of this that we're going to talk about is interactive, and it is teaching. So lots of content. So you'll want to grab a pen, piece of paper, and take some notes, because I think if you're beginning in the crypto market, as a lot of people are, and I'll share that with you in a second, you're going to find that you're going to learn a ton tonight. It's going to be drinking out of a fire hose. And if you're more advanced and you've been in the market a while, you're also going to learn some things, I think. So either way, it'd be good to grab a pen and a piece of paper and pay attention to what we've got going on. Again, I'll say hi to Kevin from Michigan. Welcome, Kevin. Are we allowing Michigan people on, Roger, being Ohio State people? Are they even allowed?
I don't know. After their performance in the tournament, I would love to kick them off, but maybe we'll let them stick around.
Okay, since they won the tournament, they got to stay. Okay, fair enough. Fair enough, everybody. So fair enough. But so, you know, I really enjoy doing these presentations, and now I'm going to get to it because we've let quite a few people come on, and I'm sure more people will be coming on as we go. So jump in. We'll be answering your questions at the end. And so let's talk about how to profit now from the Bitcoin boom. And so if you guys, let's get to it. Let me ask you, I always ask two questions to open up the presentation. Have you heard of Bitcoin or cryptocurrency? So just type in the chat box yes or no if you've heard of Bitcoin. I'm not going to taint your answers with some different things, so we'll just let you chat there. Yes, yes, yes. Awesome. Awesome, awesome. Okay, let's get some more, just get a few more in there. Have you heard of Bitcoin or cryptocurrency? All right, question number 2. Do you own currently Bitcoin or some other form of cryptocurrency? I'd love to see that. Everybody's a yes on the, everybody is a yes on the heard of it. Not everybody is a yes on the own it. Now, here is what I will tell you after you've answered those questions, and thank you for jumping in and participating. When I first started in Bitcoin cryptocurrency in 2013, nobody had heard of it. And then now pretty much everybody has heard of it in some form or another. Now, what they've heard may not be accurate, but they have heard about it. So if you've heard about it, you're not alone. And if you haven't purchased, I would love for you to just put in the comments, what's keeping you out of the market right now? What is it that is keeping you out of the market? Why have you not purchased? Or maybe you sold out and maybe you're living in your Bitcoin mansion now. I don't know. But I'd be curious to see why you are out in the marketplace if you are. All right, all right. Harry says knowledge. That's a great answer, Harry. So appreciate that answer. Great answer. And it may be a fad, Noreen. That's a good answer too. I'm going to make our case. We're going to make our case for why we don't think it's a fad, but I love your answer. So thank you for that. Any other answers on why you're currently kind of sitting on the sidelines? And it's okay. We're not going to beat you up. Roger and I have never verbally assaulted anyone yet on a webinar. So when we're asking you questions, it's for engagement and fun more than anything. So, okay, so let's talk about Bitcoin real quick. If you bought $1,000 worth of Bitcoin in like early 2017, 12 months later, you would add $16,435 roughly. Now keep in mind, Bitcoin trades on a free market. We're going to talk a lot about that. So it's up and it's down and it's all around and those kind of things. So the bottom line is you'd have been up 11 to 16 times depending on what you're looking at. If you had bought $1,000 worth of Bitcoin in early 2013, then you would have taken that 16,000 and that would have been $164,350 5 years later. So how exciting, right? If we would have known, I used to tell my dad, if I knew then what I know now. And he said, son, you'll be saying that the rest of your life. So here we go. Another example of my dad's wisdom. I'm fortunate enough, we bought in 2013. Roger and I will tell you that story. But surprisingly, awesome gains are had by Bitcoin and many believe will still be had. So we're going to talk about that. So you're in the right place. If you've invested in cryptocurrency, including Bitcoin and others, just like Roger and I have, then you're in the right place because you're going to get a ton out of this presentation, training, masterclass, whatever people are calling it. I think you're going to dig it. If you're curious, if you're some of the people that have been sitting on the sidelines and you're not sure where to start, maybe you don't have the right knowledge, maybe you're kind of questioning, is it a bubble, is it a fad, then this is also the right place for you because what's going to happen at the end of this is you're going to have more information than you had tonight to make a more informed decision. So that's pretty exciting either way, whether you decide to invest or not decide to invest. So welcome to you. And here's the big one. If you think you missed out on the boom and you're kind of bummed out, then you're in the right place because Roger and I are going to tell you why we don't think that you did miss out. We think that there's a whole other boom coming down the pike. And so I think you're really going to like that. And that's sort of a common theme that we have going on here. So here's what we're going to talk about. Roger and I will tell you a little bit about us. Not much, though. We keep it painfully short for you. We're also going to discuss why you didn't miss out yet and how you can still get involved and profit from the Bitcoin boom. So that's going to be super exciting. We'll dive into what is Bitcoin and cryptocurrency. Now, if you've been in the market, you're going to think, oh, I know what it is. Yeah, you know what it is, but you may not have looked at it from a multi-dimensional level that Roger and I are going to take you through. So I really want everybody to pay attention to that because I think we share a lot of things that maybe can offer you some insights that not that you don't know, but maybe you haven't thought of before. So I think that you'll enjoy that. Then Roger and I are going to give you 3 ways to profit from cryptocurrency right now. We're going to show you 3 things that you can do to start making money in this market. We're going to introduce you to Albert, and we're going to tell you why he matters to you and why he's just badass, because he is. So we'll share Albert with you. And then we're going to give you an opportunity to work with us and our team to create what we think is going to be life-changing wealth in 2018. I'm super excited about this market. I've been very excited about it for a long time. I was fortunate to buy in a long time ago, but I think that there's a lot of opportunity out there, and I'm screaming from the rooftops to anybody who will listen of what I think about this market. And so we'll give you an opportunity to talk more about that in a little bit. And then we're going to answer your questions at the end. So if you've got some questions, make sure to stay on until the end. We'll answer them. And that's our favorite part. We love to have discussion, Q&A. Nothing is out of bounds. You're not going to scare us with any question that you have. I would love to take them all on. So please stay for that. All right. Now, you may be thinking that you missed out, and that's not true. It's just simply not true. And so, again, that's really the theme that I want you to understand. You did not miss out. Other people like Noreen may be thinking that Bitcoin's a fad or a bubble. And we're also going to show you why this is not true. And we're going to give you some kind of case studies as to why this isn't true. And Roger and I are sort of on the inside of the marketplace. We know lots of different Wall Street people. And this market's here to stay, and it's for real. We're going to make our case for that, and then we'll let you decide at the end. I try never to make anybody believe what I believe, but I'll just make my case, and you can see that. Now, with that said, you understand I'm not a financial advisor. Roger's not a licensed financial advisor, and this is not investment advice. I would never give you investment advice. It's not my money, so I don't have a dog in that fight. And understand that any investment in cryptocurrency is not guaranteed. It comes with risk. Any investment comes with risk. You can put your money into Dow Jones yesterday. It goes down today. That's sort of the way it goes. So understand that. Never, ever, ever invest more than you can afford to lose, okay? And Roger and I beat that drum every day in our groups and out there when we do these kind of presentations. So we're not trying to hype you up, tell you you're going to be a millionaire tomorrow. We want you to know that, just play with what you can afford to play with. And we're understanding that you understand you're not going to get rich overnight. Now, I'm going to show you some pretty big numbers, and you're going to be infatuated by those numbers, and I am too. So this could get pretty hypey, which is why I try to make this part the sane part of the show, because understand that, the higher the risk, the higher the reward. Pretty much in anything in life, and the lower the risk, the lower the reward. So just understand that this comes with risk, because it's some big rewards out there. So I just want to make that clear to everybody. Now I'll introduce myself. My name is Jonathan Tarr, and that's my son Jonathan, my wife Catherine. I'm a serial entrepreneur. I've done lots of different things, owned lots of different companies in business. I'm an early adopter of Bitcoin. My favorite jobs are I'm a husband and I'm a father, and I own a group on Facebook called Totally Crypto, and I'm a big crypto enthusiast, you could say. I love it. I love the technology. I love everything about it. So that's me and my family. And let me introduce my business partner and co-owner of Totally Crypto, Roger Bryan. Roger is the CEO of Digital Currency Index. He's also an early adopter of Bitcoin. We bought our first Bitcoin on the same day. We'll tell you that story. Roger is kind of a big deal. He's been in Forbes, Inc. Magazine, Entrepreneur, Mashable, NASDAQ, CNN, Philanthropy Magazine. He's very well published, has written a couple of best-selling books. You can find out all kinds of stuff about him. But the thing that you're really going to like tonight is he is the inventor and owner of the world's first supercomputer used to analyze cryptocurrencies. And we're going to introduce you to that in a second. But Roger, say hi. That's your lovely wife, Krista, sitting next to you. And so let's tell a story about how we first got into Bitcoin.
Perfect. Hello, everyone. So John and I were at a mastermind in St. Martin's right around Easter weekend 2013. And it was actually a marketing mastermind, and there was only a handful of us there. But no matter how much we tried to talk about marketing and funnels and all of that kind of good stuff, the idea of Bitcoin kept coming up from some of the people that we were hanging out with. And I remember that moment that I pulled out a crisp $20 bill and handed it over and bought my first part of a Bitcoin, had to learn how to set up a wallet and had to have somebody manually transfer it to me, because at that time there weren't really exchanges that made purchasing it easy. Little did we know that fast forward 5 or 6 years later, that the world would have been transformed by this, and that we'd be setting the stage for the biggest advance in technology that we're going to see in our lifetime.
Yeah, awesome. Now tell the fun story of your lovely wife in that weekend.
Oh, you're going to make me tell that? So guys, here's yes. A piece of advice. Don't propose to your future wife on April 1st, or do a little bit of a better job paying attention to what date it is. Because when I proposed to my wife in front of all of my friends that were down there, she looked at me and she's like, "Are you serious?" And I kind of had to take a step back, not realizing that it was April Fool's Day. So just be cognizant of that.
Yeah, plan ahead, plan ahead. So yeah, I love that story, and that's when I first met Roger, and 5 years ago, and we've been friends ever since, and now doing some awesome things in cryptocurrency. So let's talk about, Roger, what is Bitcoin? So for new people and advanced people, let's talk about Bitcoin.
Yeah, and you know what? I'm going to start with, I watch CNBC about 8 to 10 hours a day. It's just kind of my background noise. Like, some people listen to music. I have CNBC on in the background, and it's been a constant conversation on there. Bitcoin is kind of the brand of our industry. It was born out of the financial crisis in 2008, when really a select group of society decided that they no longer wanted government control of their wealth. They were sick of seeing their money being taken via taxes and given to other institutions, the transfer of wealth that happened in the United States during that time. And they just, as much as some people want it to be decentralized, really what they wanted is they wanted control over their own wealth. So they looked at what are all of the problems with money today and how could we fix that? And they came up with the concept, well, first off, let's create a finite supply. There will only ever be a certain amount so that it will hold its value and that it won't be able to be depreciated by the printing of new money. Now, this concept took a little while to catch on, and the first people to catch on to it were the techie folks. They were the nerds. They were the people on the dark web doing things that most people would frown upon. But all of those things have transformed in recent times into this worldwide phenomenon, which is cryptocurrency, which we'll talk about here in a second. But Bitcoin is the brand of cryptocurrency, kind of like Coke is the brand of all of the different sodas or pops or carbonated beverages, depending on where you're from. And there are thousands of those sodas or thousands of those cryptocurrencies. The big thing to understand, though, is that Bitcoin has led this industry since 2008, 2009, and it continues to do so, and it has a very dominant position not only in the tech space but now in Wall Street. And the reason that we believe that it's really important to be paying attention right now is because we're about to go from Wall Street to Main Street. And when that happens, it's going to be the next catalyst for cryptocurrencies, and I haven't even started talking about blockchain yet.
Yeah, so let's talk about, I got a bunch of stuff I want to hit here. So let's talk about, Noreen was talking about it's a fad. Let's talk about blockchain and the technology behind Bitcoin, which is what makes all these quote unquote cryptocurrencies so exciting.
Yeah, and that was one of the ideas of the founders was, what if we created a ledger that was publicly available that allowed every single coin that's ever been produced to be tracked between different parties, but will encrypt the owners of that so that it is still private information, yet we can control and understand where all of these coins are. That open ledger technology was the birth of blockchain. And at the time, I don't think the creators really had the vision for what blockchain was going to become a little under a decade later. But what it's become now is it's starting to take hold as the primary way to transfer assets between parties. It's being used in everything from medical health records to insurance to car titles, house titles, bank transfers, equity transfers. And it's because it's a clean and concise way to do it that eliminates the middleman inside of most transactions. And when I say middleman, when you write a check, you deposit it at one place or you hand it to one party, it goes to one bank, it goes to a clearinghouse, it goes to another bank. All of those people have their hand in the pie and they're all taking a little piece. Bitcoin's design and blockchain's design is so that you and I, two parties, can do a transaction without a third party involved. And that's the true beauty of blockchain and the way that it's, and the reason that it's going to revolutionize the way that all transactions are done in the future.
Yeah, and before we kind of get into a couple other things, I want everybody to think about this. And I want you to think about Amazon. And Amazon's a disruptor business. Amazon comes along I don't know exactly how many years they've been in business, 15 years, maybe a little longer. And now they've completely disrupted the retail market. You look at Uber. Uber comes along and has completely disrupted, because of their technology, the taxi industry and the limousine industry. And so what Bitcoin, or what blockchain specifically, the technology is going to do is it is going to disrupt many of these industries that require third parties. So I'm not saying it's going to eliminate them. So please don't misunderstand me. I'm not saying banks are going away. What I'm saying is blockchain is going to disrupt that. Blockchain is going to disrupt the credit card industry. Blockchain is going to disrupt all these things, that the Western Unions of the world, anything that requires a go-between. Because on your blockchain, or in your crypto wallet, or whatever you want to call it, we'll get into this more, I can send money directly to somebody in Africa without a bank and without Western Union. And that technology is what's going to disrupt the world markets. And a lot of people, when they hear Bitcoin, they're thinking hypey, they're thinking the price goes up, they're thinking different things like that. But Roger, they're not thinking about the technology behind it.
They really aren't. And you even mentioned a couple companies that are adopting blockchain right now. The CEO of Ripple was on CNBC today with a conference that's out in San Francisco, talking about the fact that Western Union and MoneyGram are starting to use the Ripple protocol, the Ripple blockchain, in order to do cross-border payments. Uber is talking about adopting blockchain in order to create transparency in transactions between their drivers and their passengers. So when you talk about all these revolutionary companies, even Amazon is getting into the banking business, and they're doing it in order to allow cross-border transactions, and there's a contemplation about it being on blockchain. So these revolutionary companies that have changed the way that we do business and the way that we consume are adopting this new technology, and we're still at the earliest of adoption stages. That when you go to a dinner party, 99% of the people there have no idea what blockchain is. But if you mention Bitcoin, they're like, oh, I've heard of that. You need to understand the underlying technology so you understand the opportunity that is being poised by this market right now.
Yeah, and here's one thing that I want to add too. So I've got up here on the second line, if everybody can see that, this is a writer downer for everybody. I said to write some stuff down. We're talking about Bitcoin is multidimensional. It is a store of value, and it's also used as a mechanism of purchase. So it has different uses. One of the reasons it's a store of value is because, as Roger was mentioning, it's a finite supply. So when people look for a safe haven to kind of put their money, they've been putting it in Bitcoin, and obviously it's been going up. So you may see articles out there that say, oh, Bitcoin is not, I saw an article the other day which basically talked about how transaction use from Bitcoin is down X amount of percent, and it's never going to be a currency. Well, here's what you have to understand. My wife was talking about this with me the other day. She's certainly not a Bitcoin expert, but she said the problem with Main Street and other people is they are relating to Bitcoin as a currency and not a technology, Roger. And I want to make that distinction, that all this fear and gloom and everything is because people relate to these things as a currency, and they're much more than that.
I think the most potent response that I can give to that the SEC is doing everything in their power now to regulate the exchanges where these items are traded. And to me, that's the best sign of market legitimacy that we're ever going to get. And I think anyone on Wall Street, and we work with a lot of those people, completely agrees that when the SEC decides that we need to go in and we need to make sure that these things are being monitored and that they're being regulated, that it's now giving legitimacy from the Wall Street side of the world to translate into the Main Street side of the world. And you don't get that for something that's a fad or something that has no longevity to it.
Yeah, totally. So, all right, cool. We got a lot to talk about, so we'll move on here and let's talk about what are cryptocurrencies, because I always do this when I travel, and I seem to be traveling more these days. If I'm sitting at a bar, I'm sitting down at a restaurant, having something to eat, having a glass of wine, people inevitably ask me, what do you do? And I always tell them what I do And I say, oh, I'm in publishing. And they're like, okay, cool. What do you publish? And then I'm like, oh, I'm in financial services. And they're like, oh, okay, what do you do? And I said, oh, I publish things on cryptocurrency. And they're like, huh? And they kind of tilt their head and they look at me and I'm like, Bitcoin. And they're like, oh, yeah, I've heard of Bitcoin. So, Roger, let's talk about cryptocurrencies. And the fact of the matter is 95% of the people on the planet don't know they exist.
Yeah, no, that's very common. I was at a hackathon recently, and we're sitting there and talking. I mentioned cryptocurrencies, and these are really smart, techie people, and they had no concept of what I was talking about. I mentioned Bitcoin, and instantly somebody responded, "Oh, you mean cryptocurrencies like Ethereum?" So these are companies or platforms that are similar to Bitcoin in concept, but they use technology differently. So there are blockchains that are being applied to the healthcare space, both in the insurance side, the medical record side, even in the data transfer side. There are blockchains that are being applied to the equities markets, into transferring assets of different types. They can serve a lot of different purposes besides just that. Some are designed to be a store of value, to be a currency, so that they can be used as a way to purchase other items. There's really three ways, and the third one is a utility token, which a lot of companies use to raise funds so that they can build a platform and then those tokens can be used on that platform. With all of the different types, I think the most important thing to understand is this is really the world's first 24/7 market. And it's become such an important aspect in the investing space that the traditional equity markets are now starting to follow. So if you're in the US, you've probably seen the Lionel Richie commercial with TD Ameritrade, where he rings the bell for the 24/5 trading day. Well, when the CEO announced that change to their trading desk, they said specifically it's because of the adoption of the cryptocurrency changes in the cryptocurrency market. And in order to satisfy the need of investors, we had to update our systems and procedures in order to serve them. But I think what's really important and what's really exciting from an investment standpoint, being that I've almost always invested in American companies from an IPO or pre-IPO perspective, is that this market is actually being led by Asia. And the more that I talk to the larger projects and the larger investors, the more I learn that they're really spending a lot of time over in Asia, in China, looking for projects that are coming to market, understanding that they're leading in artificial intelligence, they're leading in data science, they're leading in a lot of this blockchain technology. We just don't hear a lot about it because the way that marketing, the difference in the way that marketing is done. And 65% of our group members are not from the United States. And I think that's really important because the United States, up until this change in the dynamic of financial markets, has really led the markets for almost 100 years in the development of different types of trading strategies, equity issues, and then all kinds of crazy derivatives and things like that. But this is actually being led by someone else. And that's exciting because it means that it's got legs and it can do a lot more than traditional markets might have been able to do.
Yeah, and I want you guys to think about this too, because I'm getting ready to show you a slide. I want you to think, write this down, please. I want you to think in terms of, write down supply and demand. Supply and demand, right? And I'm not, this isn't like going to get into a big time economics lesson, but I want you to write that down because the world market makes a big difference to you because of that. And I'll explain here in just a second. You'll understand what I'm talking about. So stay with us there. Anything to add on cryptocurrencies, Roger, or we hit that pretty good?
No, I think as we start to get into the three ways to profit from this market, we're going to dive a little bit deeper into each of these concepts.
Okay, awesome. So let's go back to the did you miss out? Remember, that's sort of my common theme for the evening. Now, some of you are like, you know, it's a bubble, it's a fad. I didn't get in at the time. It's all going to explode. That's still the did you miss out? So here you go. Market cap, this is roughly, for cryptocurrencies, is about $500 billion. Billion with a B, which is a big number. Let's not, you know, billion is a big number. And 508 of them is a lot of billion. The Amazon market cap, this is the company Amazon, is roughly $700 billion. Again, it goes up and it goes down, but you've got Amazon at $700 billion. The world market cap is $100 trillion, the world market cap. Now, it takes 1,000 billion to get to a trillion. So it takes a lot of billion to get to a trillion. Crypto isn't even at 1% of the global marketplace right now. Not even at 1%. And in fact, it's not even as big as Amazon. So all this hype, all this stuff that you're seeing about this marketplace, it's not even as big as Amazon. Now, Roger, I want to make a point here. There's plenty of room to grow, but I'm going to explain to you, and we're going to discuss that. I'm going to leave this up if you want to write that down. It's cool. Roger, we're having dinner with some guys from Morgan Stanley, and they were talking about how Bitcoin basically invented a new world market, and it's here to stay. And what I want to point out when I was talking about the supply and demand, Roger, is if the world market cap is at 100 trillion, and this is basically less than 1% of it, it's about 0.5% of it right now, and this market is here to stay, it only means basically that over time it's going to go up and get much bigger. And so, there's all kind of room to grow, and it's not going to go away. It's just going to get bigger, and you didn't miss out. In fact, if you were to go buy your first Bitcoin tomorrow, you're still so early in this game that it's unbelievable.
Yeah, and as we dive into the different ways that you can profit from this, we'll talk about how some of the greatest creations in blockchain haven't even been thought of yet. And that those creations are going to come through these style of markets. And your involvement in these markets now in any one of the three ways that we're going to talk about is going to give you a leg up as these new technologies are created and as these new products come online, and giving you a chance to take part in those. And that's one of our three profit paths that we'll talk about in a second.
Awesome. All right. So cool. So let's talk about how to profit. By the way, is everybody enjoying this so far? Are we boring anybody? If the answer is yes, then just answer the first question. So yes, you're enjoying it. Okay, awesome. Awesome. David, no last name. We got a lot of no last names on here. So that family is all over the place on this webinar. Okay, so let's talk about how to profit, because in a few minutes, Roger and I are going to give you the opportunity to have our team do a lot of this with you. And so if some crazy reason you decide not to take us up on our offer, we still want to help. We want to show you profit paths that we're using right now to make money in this marketplace. So now is really the time that we've given you, I think, a good base, a good understanding of what the marketplace is. Now is the time to really dive in with the pen and the paper and understand what we're going to talk about here and how to go turn this information that you're getting tonight into money, because that's the whole reason you're here. So let's dive into the three ways to profit from the Bitcoin boom. What I'm going to do is I'm going to list these, and then we're going to go through some different things, and I'm going to come back and we're going to dive into these pretty deep. So the first way is to hold big cap coins, and we're going to show you how to do that. I've been doing this since 2013. I haven't sold any of my Bitcoin. I was fortunate enough to buy a lot of it, and I just hold. And sometimes I get friends who are like, oh my God, what's going on in the market? And I'm like, I don't know, dude. I just hold. I'll talk. Call me up in 2023. We'll have a conversation about it. But so holding big cap coins, in my opinion, is what we kind of call the beginner entry level. And Roger will get more into this. The second way you can get in the market that we'll dissect for you is to buy small cap coins. These are coins that most people have never heard of. Some of them they have, but most of them, if you go ask somebody if they heard of Ripple at a wine dinner, they're going to say, yeah, that's a cheap wine from back in the 70s. They won't have any idea what you're talking about here. So that's the second way to profit. And then the third way, and our favorite way, is to buy ICOs. And we'll dive into all those. Those are the three things we're going to talk about for the rest of the presentation here. And we'll start diving in. Now, I want to share with you some past results, because opportunity is literally everywhere in this market. And, I get so excited about this when I do these presentations because it reminds me how much opportunity is there. So let's look at some past results, and then let's look at what people are saying about this marketplace and what it's going to do. All right, let's look at Mr. Ronnie Moas. So can everybody see my screen here? You should see Fortune magazine, fortune.com. Can everybody see that? Yes, awesome. Thank you, Kurt. Yes. Oh, all right. Yes. Okay, cool. So here's what you got. Ronnie Moas is a guy who's sort of a Bitcoin bull is what they call him. And he predicted a big surge in Bitcoin in June. And he said that the rocket ride, quote, for the cryptocurrency, that the end game on Bitcoin is in the $300,000 to $400,000 range. Now, you'll hear some guys that'll talk about this being in the $1 million range. It really depends on who you're talking to. But what I want to illustrate here is if you think about where Bitcoin is today and where it's going, 400,000, 300,000 to 400,000 is a lot of upside to just Bitcoin. I mean, a whole lot of upside. And I didn't just pull this article, I didn't have to search for it. So if you go to Google and just hit Bitcoin price predictions, like the first 20 of them are these crazy price predictions for Bitcoin. So most of your experts feel like Bitcoin is going to go up. It may go sideways for a little while. It may go down, right? But at the end of the day, they think, Ronnie anyway, thinks it's going to go to 300 to 400,000. And I think that's really important to point out, that you're going to find these predictions all over the place. So let's get back to my presentation here and talk about, so I wanted to show you that from Ronnie. Now, Bitcoin isn't the only opportunity. Let's talk about Ripple. If you invested $1,000 in Ripple in early 2017, you'd have $270,000 12 months later. 270 times your money. Now, how exciting is that? 270 times. Can anybody get excited about that? Say yes in the comments. I didn't buy it then, but I'm still excited about the possibilities. I did buy it when it was pretty low, though, so that's exciting. Let's look at NEO. $1,000 invested in NEO in early 2017 would be worth $1.2 million 12 months later. So if 270x doesn't get it for you, how about 1.2 million for $1,000 invested? Exciting. Now, remember back earlier, if you've been with us the whole training here, I said that these numbers were going to get a little exciting and they're going to get a little hypey. And so that's why I gave you that big disclaimer when we started out. But these numbers are very real. Here's some others. $1,000 in Ethereum, roughly $105,000. $1,000 in Dash, roughly $85,000  12 months later. And the reason I give you these alongside the Bitcoin prediction is to, again, lay the foundation that not only have you missed or not missed out, Roger, there are hundreds of stories like this, and there are going to be hundreds more. We just don't know which coins they are. Well, we might, but most people don't know which coins are going to go on this ride.
Oh, absolutely. And with the shifts in the market to securitization of these types of offerings, I feel like that this next run is just getting ready to get started, and it's going to be bigger than the first because you're now going to have Wall Street and Main Street money coming in behind you, and that is really exciting, which we're going to talk about here in a minute.
Yeah, awesome. So cool. Okay, so we're going to dive into that. I always love the Ripple conversation because you always get folks that are on the Ripple is evil bandwagon. And that's cool if you believe that. But anyway, it's funny because we get a lot of libertarians, and that's awesome that we can all come together and converge in this community. So here's the cool thing. One of the things I wanted to illustrate there, Roger, is picking the right coins at the right times are key. And then the other thing is being patient with those picks. So this isn't a, hey, in an hour, you're going to have this kind of thing. Like, you know, it can be, but the bottom line is we have a secret weapon that helps us to pick these coins and to do these profit strategies that we're sharing with you. And his name is Albert. He gives us a huge advantage. And so, Roger, can you explain exactly what Albert is?
Yeah, and I think Albert, we have to thank him because he's the reason that we get meetings with people from Morgan Stanley or the multi-billion-dollar family wealth funds. So Albert was created 4 years ago, and he was designed as a data processing algorithm used in the marketing space. And he was born while we were working with Microsoft. The idea was that if we could compile enough data on different marketing strategies that we could predict which ones would work best. We spent 2 years doing research. We spent a year putting this together and then a year bringing it to market. And I've written a best-selling book on data-driven marketing that you can pick up over on Amazon, where I case study everything that we did to build Albert and the project that we did with Microsoft. What's really important is that he can do more work in 1 hour than 10 humans can do all year long. Now, how in the world did he start working in the cryptocurrency space? Well, we've got a really smart team, and this summer, in July, we were sitting around working on some go-to-market strategies and some campaign designs, and I mentioned Bitcoin. And one of our data scientists said, oh, I'm investing in that. And another one's like, well, you know what? I'm buying all of the different things that are on Coinbase. And the conversation turned into, well, could we write an algorithm that can help us optimize our own personal portfolios? And they were like, well, okay, let's try. That was July 11th. That algorithm was launched on July 15th, and we were incorporated on July 16th. And since that time, Albert has been reviewing 1,400, what's now 1,500 coins because CoinMarketCap keeps adding more. Every 10 minutes, he's taking a snapshot of the entire market and comparing every coin against every other coin. So if you extrapolate how many different coins have to be compared in order for that to work, the number gets really big. Albert will run almost 1 million algorithms against a specific coin before he'll pick it to be part of our 20 coin index each month. And every month he repeats that process, looking to mitigate risk first and then maximize returns after. And since his launch, he's outperformed the market every month since being launched. And what's really important is he's not only outperformed, but as of March 1st, when we ran these numbers, if you had invested $1 into the cryptocurrency markets on July 16th when we launched him, you'd be worth about $5.60, or $1,000 would be worth $5,600. But if you invested it using Albert, that same dollar would be worth $12.40, more than double what the overall market cap has increased. And of course it's fluctuated, but even when the market goes down, we go down less. When the market goes up, we go up more. And that's really why we've been able to do such amazing things in the market and be able to develop the relationships that we have and the credibility that we have with all of the major news publications. You can Google this. NASDAQ came out with an article about our allocation and our index, calling it the most prominent index in the entire market. And that's what we help our members to do.
Yeah, and I think I want to break this down for everybody. And I'm certainly a humanist. I love people. And so I'm not picking on anybody as a human being here. I'm just making a point that in our Facebook group, in our Facebook group in Facebook's like thousands and thousands of members, and it's a free group, and people get in there and they're like, oh, I read this white paper and I'm excited. And it's like, in the world of AI and machine learning, they can tell what kind of car you buy by how you set your thermostat, on what temperature you set your thermostat. I mean, the data that is coming into places is unbelievable. And so it's laughable, the advantage that Albert gives us over the regular person. It's like, oh, I read this white paper and I saw a YouTube video and I'm in. Roger, you know what I mean, Roger? It's just like unbelievable the amount of data points that a human being could just never process effectively and efficiently like Albert.
Oh, absolutely. It takes an army of people to gather the data, and then it takes an entire month to run the data. And human beings just can't do that. And even if they tried, their brain is not capable of that much capacity. So you could build an army of analysts, and they still wouldn't be able to get through every single one of these coins each and every month.
Yeah, and let's just talk about, real quick before we move on, Roger, the checks and balances between the data scientists, the analysts that we employ, and Albert. Talk a little bit about the human element to this and how we combine both, because I think that's really exciting.
It's technically called
us humans we're something. Sorry.
Yeah, it's technically called hybrid AI allocation. So what it means is there's human beings that are gathering the data to build the data sets. There's data scientists reviewing the data to make sure that it's completely organized and accurate. Then it's going to run through artificial intelligence, and then the output is going to be reviewed by a human being again before it's released. Those checks and balances make sure that the input and the output are correct each and every time.
Yeah, it's pretty exciting, and it gives us that advantage, and I think that that's huge. And so let's talk about, Roger, folks that say, hey, despite that, I kind of want to go it on my own. What's the way for beginners to get into this market and profit? Let's talk about that real quick.
Yeah, and this is for people that don't want to be constantly involved, but they want to make sure that they're getting a piece of the opportunity. And we call that the buy the big cap and hold. You can do this simply by having a Coinbase account and going in and buying Bitcoin, Ethereum, and Litecoin. Just buy a little bit of it, and then you make sure you keep track of your logins and your two-factor, but then just forget that you own it. Don't look again. Wait a couple years from now and then check back in as this market comes to fruition and it comes into Main Street as it's coming through Wall Street. And you're going to be really happy that you did that. It's the easiest way to get into the market. And if nothing else, at the end of this call today, as long as you leave feeling like you learned something, I'm somewhat happy. But if I know that you go out and you get involved in the markets, you open up your Coinbase account, even if it's just $100, you put it in there, you buy a little bit. That is really my intent of doing this training. It's to get you in the market. You may or may not decide to work with us. You may or may not be ready for the things that we can do to help you build wealth. But at the very least, get into the market, because I know as soon as you do, the crypto itch will start and you will come around and we will be ready to help you.
Yeah, it's super exciting. And so, yeah, that's Coinbase for those of you writing it down. And they have these big cap coins, and it's a great opportunity for you to just get into the market. And this is what we call the beginner path. So if you haven't done this before, now armed with the information we've given you, we're telling you where we think the market can go, et cetera, et cetera. You hop in, you're going to be super, super happy in 5 years. Now, Roger, this is the more, I'm going to say the next step. So, maybe a little more advanced. Buy small cap and micro cap coins. Let's talk about this. Most people don't even know that these coins exist.
Yeah, so this is kind of like in between the big cap and the more aggressive seed investing and angel investing that we're going to talk about next. And really what it is that there are thousands of coins out there. There's an opportunity for you to pick a market segment that you like, do a little bit of investigation in all of the different projects in that realm. Like, I'm super into finding who's going to solve healthcare medical records using blockchain. And so I'm looking at every project that's in that space, whether they're public security or whether they're a cryptocurrency, and I'm going out and buying a small piece of those because I know the person that solves that is going to build $1 trillion company. Now, I look at these from a long-term investment, but these are the fun ones that you can go in and play around with a little bit more than the big caps, where you just want to put your money in the big caps and let that sit and come back in a couple of years. These are the ones that they're sub $100 million companies that you can invest in now and watch them ride up to that $1 billion market cap and take that ride with them. It takes a little bit of patience. It takes a little bit of discipline, but if you get into them at the right time, there's a lot of opportunity for you to make a significant amount of profit in the future.
Yeah, and a lot of these small cap coins, Roger, are going to become big cap coins.
They are. In fact, we did a training on the top 10 coins of 2018, and I had to say at 2 points that we don't know what 2 of them are going to be at the end of the year because they don't exist yet. They're going to have to come to market as small caps. They're going to have to grow. They're going to have to market. They're going to have to do business, and they're going to come up, and we need to be keeping an eye on them so that we can invest in them now. It's like investing in Amazon in 1999 and then holding it through 2000 and 2001 so that you can get to what it is today. Yeah,
it's super awesome, and it's a great way to invest. And if you want to take the next step, that's certainly something we can help you with. We'll talk about that in a minute. Here's our favorite profit path, and that's Roger, to invest in ICOs. Let's talk about what's an ICO and a pre-ICO, and let's dive into some of these.
Yeah, and so I want to preface this too, because the market is shifting fast, and the concept of ICOs, which have been a great way for companies to raise money and a great way for investors to profit, is changing, and it's changing for the better. And what I mean is that in the United States, the SEC is starting to interact with these projects and causing them to do some type of registration to show their legitimacy. And this is really good for us that understand that that is happening, because 47% of all ICOs from the previous year failed. Now, we were able to pick the right ones by developing relationships with the founders of the companies, doing interviews with them, sharing that interview with the group, making sure that we had a legitimate play in the space that they were in. But now that the SEC has come in, it's a new way for companies to raise money and issue digital tokens that list on exchanges. And it's an opportunity for you to invest in blockchain projects before the rest of the world even knows that they exist. This is my favorite thing to do. When I sold my company in 2012, I spent 2013, 14, 15, and most of 2016 primarily investing in pre-IPO companies. And that was how I made my living for those 4 years. And then in 2017, the cryptocurrency ICO market really started to catch on fire, and I jumped in on that, and I was able to make 10 times the returns on that than I was traditional markets. But as the markets transformed, the opportunities kept getting bigger and bigger. And now that they're becoming registered securities, you're about to see the next wave of opportunity. It's kind of like when electronic brokerage companies came out in the late 90s, and people were just so fascinated by the fact that they could sit on a computer at home and they could trade stocks. Well, the ICO market is the first real market where you don't have to be a gazillionaire to invest in early stage projects. And it's super awesome. You don't have to have a broker. You don't have to put in hundreds of thousands or $250,000 into these projects. You can invest in ICOs with $100, $200. At the most I've seen so far this year, the maximum minimum was $2,500, if that makes sense to you. But there are so many opportunities in this space. We're tracking 17 projects that are coming out in March that are all coming out as public securities, all registered, and we're super excited about the transition of the market and the opportunity that it brings about for everyone.
Yeah, it's awesome. Let's dive through some of the past winners that we've had on the ICO side, and then we can dive more into this on the Q&A. So let's talk about Wager.
Wager was one of our first ICO investments last summer. Remember I said that I had done the traditional markets and traditional pre-IPO through brokers up until about 2016, and then moved into the ICO space in 2017. Wager was one of the first ones. I really liked it because the problem that they were solving is that they were a worldwide gambling token that allowed people to access specific websites where they may or may not be able to transfer in money from credit cards or money from bank accounts, that they could go out and buy these tokens. They could bring those tokens into the exchange. They could gamble. They could take the tokens out and sell them back on an exchange. It's continued to grow and it's fluctuated. But look at this. We were able to buy one Wager token for 2 cents. If you really think about that, it's such a huge opportunity. A couple $100, or let's say $1,000 on this, turns into $35,000 because the price point was so low at their initial offer.
Yeah, that's huge. And we've talked about this before. You don't have to be Rockefeller to get in this market, and that's super exciting. Tezos.
Tezos is an exciting one, mostly because this one we entered into last summer, and it's still trading in the pre-markets. But the founder is now pushing the product out this month, which is super exciting because we've been waiting for it. Tezos is blockchain for the equities market. They are designed to bring like the New York Stock Exchange and NASDAQ into blockchain to lower the settlement costs that are related with running those exchanges, eliminating the broker dealers, eliminating the settlement agents, eliminating the transfer agents. This is really huge because if you've ever taken a company public or you've invested in early stage companies, there's so much paperwork that you have to do in order to be involved. And that's because there's so many hands that have to touch this. The establishment has found a great way to make sure to nickel and dime every person that raises money, and Tezos wants to unseat that. When they get to market and they make those first deals, which I think that they're making now. One of the founders is a former McKinsey consultant. The other one's a former Morgan Stanley broker. There's going to be some pretty amazing backing on that. And look, again, we got in at 43 cents.
Awesome. One of your favorites, Dragon Chain.
Yeah, mostly because Dragon Chain just now released the beta of their blockchain platform. So Dragon Chain came out of the Disney Labs. So they went through the Disney incubator. Their founder's a Disney executive. They've got a lot of Disney executive board members. It was such an amazing offer when I heard about it that I almost didn't believe it. I had to call up one of my brokers. I'm an investor in Disney. And get in touch with somebody from Disney corporate to verify the fact that they were legitimate. And I had like 6 hours before their project closed fundraising in order to do that verification. And I was like a dialing machine. But again, look at that, 5 cents, and it peaked at about $3.23. And with the release of their new platform, they're back on a rampage and they're starting to launch new projects. What's really cool about them still is that they've got the relationships in with the major publishers. So when I say publishers, I'm talking about like Disney. Disney's buying Fox. Like bringing all of that type of content distribution into the blockchain will happen through someone like Dragon Chain because of the relationships that they have, and that's going to make them a major player from now until, I don't know.
Another one, 5 cents.
Yeah, 5 cents entry point. Like you couldn't go wrong with that. You just threw a couple dollars in.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, you can't even get on a blackjack table in Vegas for less than $5.
No, I've had friends who were drunk who tried. It doesn't go too well.
No, exactly. So Simple Token.
Simple Token's another really cool one. So one of the primary blockchains that people launch utility tokens on is called the ERC20 or the Ethereum blockchain. If you're in this space, you've heard of Ethereum, you may or may not know of ERC20, but 87% of all projects launched in 2017 were built on the ERC20 blockchain. The problem with the ERC20 blockchain is that it's very simplistic, which is both a benefit and a problem depending on what it is that you want to do. So what Simple Token did is they developed what they call side chains. So they run the transaction on the Ethereum blockchain, but they store data that needs to be transferred off the chain. And when I say data, so imagine if you want to build digital medical records. Well, you're not going to build that on the Ethereum blockchain because that's not what it was designed to do. But if you want to transfer data on the Ethereum blockchain, but build a side chain with Simple Token in order to store complicated and encrypted data, that's what Simple Token does. And they were one of the first to come to market with that. And they've just launched the beta of their platform that allows developers to build in it. You notice that I keep saying they just launched or they're just launching. Like these things haven't even come to fruition yet. And we're talking about these amazing returns. What's going to happen when people actually have access to them and they start using them? That's where it gets really exciting. And that's why when we talk about profit path number 3, that there's still so much opportunity out there to get into these projects while they're coming to market.
Yeah, totally. And okay, this is my favorite because we rolled this one out for fun to our free group, Genesis Vision. Although you had to be a whale at 82 cents. I'm kidding. That's a joke because some of these are so small. Joke.
Absolutely.
Laugh.
In fact,
Virtual
you know
laugh.
Yeah, what's really cool about this one right now is that Genesis Vision understood that the market was shifting. And that there was going to be a need for decentralized brokers, i.e. that certain governments were going to limit access to specific markets, and they wanted to create a platform that would allow people to get access to those through money managers, i.e. they're basically a Morgan Stanley or any other of the major Wall Street firms that you can call up, you can get a broker, Edward Jones. They're that for the cryptocurrency space. They were smart. They're a Russian technology company that realized they couldn't do what they wanted to do there. So they moved to Ireland, and they're just gangbusters. They launched the beta of their platform last month, and actually I think their token price is twice this right now. While all the rest of the market has been ebb and flowing in the downward momentum, Genesis Vision has been still on a huge uptick, which has been really, really exciting for us.
Yeah, awesome. And so everybody, if you put $5,000 into these, $1,000 a piece, I just said $1,000 a piece, you would have $142,000 today. So that's obviously an exciting return. I already told you, full disclosure, that these numbers were going to get really exciting, and they are. They're super exciting, especially in this ICO space. So tell me, did you like this? Have you found this presentation helpful so far? I'd love to hear a little bit of feedback on what we've done so far and see if you're really enjoying it. And I'd also like to tell you a little bit about our insider circle, if you don't mind. So I'm going to tell you a little bit about that. Want to make sure, okay, cool. Yes, yes. I must have a little delay here. But yeah, they're coming in now. Holy schmoly Batman. Thank you, Rob. Good. So we kind of like to give people some braingasms when we're on here and kind of show you some things that you may not have thought about in the marketplace. So here's the thing. Now, you registered for this training, and you're here right now, and you know that people are making life-changing money from the Bitcoin boom. And this is exactly why you're going to want to be in our insider circle. People talked before this presentation about, I don't have enough information. I think it's a fad. So not having enough information, I think not only did we solve that, but we'll continue to solve it. And I'm going to show you why here in just a second. If you think it's a fad, I think we made a really good case that it's not. Perhaps you're not convinced, and that's okay. That's wonderful. But I think this information here will help you to make solid choices in this market. So it'll help you to know how to get started buying cryptocurrency step by step without any guesswork. Albert and Roger and his team do most of the work. You don't really have to guess. I'll talk more about that in a second. If you want to know what are the best exchanges to purchase cryptocurrency on without the searches and the headaches, we can help you with that. If you want to get winning ICO picks without doing hours of research and white paper reading, we're going to help you with that. If you want to know what coins to buy, which coins to avoid, we take you step by step through that as well. I'll give you some solid examples here in a minute. If you're in the market and you're spending hours trying to figure out which coins to buy, just stop it, okay? You don't need to do that anymore. We tell you exactly what to do, and you can have access to Roger and his team to analyze the coins for you. So you have a question about a coin, you fill out a coin request sheet, and the team analyzes it for you. It's unheard of, and you get that as part of your membership. That will have you avoiding worthless ICOs and scam coins that'll kill your profits. We have a blacklist of coins that we tell our people to stay away from. When you get a coin analyzed, you'll know immediately whether you should ignore that coin or not. And that in itself saves you a ton of money if you're in this marketplace. Now, you're going to get, when I say 24/7 access to Roger and his team, you do it on demand. So you ask them, and they're going to tell you, should you stay away from that? Should you buy it? Should you hold it? We give you a stress test rankings of individual coins each month. We tell you exactly where they stand on the spectrum. The market's volatile. So every month, like I think last month, I'll let Roger comment on this in a minute, but I think last month we had 8 coins fall out of the top 30 and 8 new coins come in. So you want to be up to speed on the market so that you can adjust your portfolio accordingly, so that you don't have to worry about losing money on a coin or more money than you normally would have lost in that case. Now, if you want training, we've got all kind of training in there that'll help you understand what you need to invest in cryptocurrencies, exchanges, security, wallets, storage. It's in there. It's ready for you on demand. So, if you don't want to participate in that training or you find that too overwhelming, then you don't have to do it. But if you do need it at your fingertips, it's right there. That's what I like about it. You're going to get access to our exclusive monthly newsletter. It has a big cap coin of the month and a small cap coin of the month. So you can kind of take advantage of these before the masses do, right? That's the whole trick, is that Albert says, hey, this coin is going to do its thing. You might want to get on this. Roger and his team analyze it. And they say, yeah, this is our pick of the month. And then you get to get in before anybody else. So the knowledge you get to get in front of the curve is pretty amazing. You're going to get access to all Roger's winning picks. This is not public information. This is for members only. I want to point out really quick that we don't recommend anything that we don't buy. So we're not in the sense of two things. We're going to put our money where we tell you to put your money, and we'll talk about pump and dumps in a little bit in the Q&A, but our stuff is long-term. and we want you to know we're invested with you, and I think you'll like that. You're going to get our monthly newsletter full of topics, trips, and tips. Here's one of my favorite parts, the Facebook group. It's dedicated to paid members where you're going to ask your questions and have informative discussion with Roger and his team of analysts. We have a free Facebook group. We love our free Facebook group. It's amazing. There's a lot of people in there, and we love them. But sometimes the discussion is not as informed because the people don't have any skin in the game. And so you might get a lot of people doing technical analysis that don't have any money in. And so a lot of times it's worthless information. This Facebook group is dedicated to paid members, and they sort of have our analysts at their fingertips there. You get a weekly Q&A call with Roger to ask him any questions and discuss crypto. And this is for insider members only. It's a Zoom call, so you're face-to-face, ask any questions. It happens every week. Motivational Monday, one of my favorite things. It's motivational and inspirational help for you, the investor. Sometimes in a volatile market, you can be way up, it's euphoric, and way down. And I've got a snapshot of the psychology of the market. And so there's all kind of emotions. And we find that this helps to get those emotions in check and keep you on the same page. We don't want you living on an island. We want you to be part of our community. Tech Thursday. So if you're a little new or if you're seasoned, but you run into a tech question, we have Tech Thursday where a member of our team gets on a Zoom call with you, holds your hand through any exchange or security questions that you have. Now, obviously, our guy doesn't work for the exchanges, so they answer them the best that they can, but they can walk you through how to use this wallet, how to use that wallet, where to go buy these coins, and how to properly secure your coins. That's invaluable if you are new to the market. And I find it as a seasoned person who's not very techy. I'm certainly not Roger. I'm not a data scientist or a software developer. I'm just a dude, and I'm a little tech challenged. So I find these calls very helpful to me as well. Let's talk about what you pay. So let's say you bought $1,000 of each of Roger's recommended coins in the last 5 months. You invest $5,000. Your total value there, we talked about it, is $142,000. So let's throw a $997 value on the paid Facebook group. I think it's more than that, but let's say $997. Let's say you want your own staff of coin analysts, because remember, our analysts are going to analyze coins for you on demand. There's 4 of them. It's $300,000 a year. You would have to pay this team of analysts, data scientists, physicists, all kinds of stuff. I'll let Roger tell you more about that. We've also got trainings on how to buy, sell, and store crypto. I see a lot of these trainings going for $19.97, and these are beginner trainings, not a lot of advanced info in there, but $19.97 is the value I put on that. And then access to Roger and Albert is literally priceless because it's the only supercomputer right now being effectively utilized for cryptocurrency. And hedge funds are dying to get their hands on this, by the way. So let's break it down. You got your ICO return, $142,000, your staff of analysts, $300,000, your Facebook group of $997, training of $1997, Roger's supercomputer. You got a total value here of $444,994 plus priceless, because who knows how many coins Albert's going to analyze for you and the staff's going to analyze for you. They're going to go on to big gains for you. I don't know, right? So it's kind of priceless. We can't even put a number on it. It could be so great. So what are you going to pay? You're not even going to pay anything close to that. Our inner circle is a regular price of $497 a month or $44.97 annually is the price that you pay. Again, that's nothing compared to just the ICO gain of $142,000. But for the next 72 hours, there's the link there. You're going to get our annual price at almost, I think that's 50% off, almost 60% off at $24.97 a year. Or if you decide to take the monthly option, you're at $397 a month. Huge, huge discount there for you if you take advantage. Like I told you, I'm trying to get everybody involved in cryptocurrency. I love it. And so there you go. There is our offer. I'm going to recap it. I'm going to tell you about a little guarantee we have. and then we're going to take your questions. So stay on and let's have some crypto talk. And in fact, let me just go through here. I'm going to make sure that that link is in there. I think it is. So that's the link again. And that is, if you go month to month with us, it's sort of a built-in guarantee because you can cancel anytime. You're going to come in. If you want to get in, you pay your $397, and then next month it's not for you, fine. Okay? No problem there. And if you decide to go with the annual membership, here's our guarantee. If you purchase the annual membership and Roger fails to outperform the crypto market with our picks and recommendations, then you'll receive a year free. And it's because it won't happen. It just won't happen. But if it does happen, then we will honor that guarantee for you. And we'll explain a little bit more about that. But we like to put our money where our mouth is, and that's the guarantee that we give you. Let's talk about a bonus. I think also, if you purchase within the next 72 hours, you're going to get a bonus. Birds of a feather flock together. And I told you that when I'm in a restaurant or I'm in a bar, and I say cryptocurrency, people look at me kind of sketchy. And even my wife is like, oh, what makes you think this is going to last? And so, we're kind of a rare breed out there right now. We're less than 1% of the world market. So, you want to be with like-minded people doing like-minded things. So as an added bonus, we're going to do an annual event, and you're going to get 2 tickets to our Crypto Insider event. And it's only available to Insider Circle members, okay? So Inner Circle members are going to get it. Nobody else will be there. So this is just for paid members. And we've got hundreds. So, it's going to be a big community and a nice community and lots of people that you can break bread with. And most of these events that I see have a value of about $2,000 a ticket. So I put a value on this community of $4,000. But it's priceless. To be in a community with people that think like you think, I think is unbelievable, personally. So that's our bonus there. If you decide to take advantage of this offer within the next 72 hours, if you decide not to, then hey, no worries. Then when the tickets come out, you'll just pay for that. But it's an added bonus. So let's recap real quick what you get, and then we're going to open it up for questions. All right. So remember, with your paid membership, you're going to get 24/7 access to Roger and his team. They'll analyze coins and ICOs on demand. You ask, and they're going to tell you all about that coin. That is just an invaluable thing, personally. You're also going to get the rankings of individual coins each month, telling you exactly where they stand on the spectrum. The market's volatile. If you follow this market, it's up, it's down, it's sideways. 1 minute it's euphoria. The next minute, oh my God. So you really need this information on a month-to-month basis. You miss a month, you miss a lot with us. So it's good to have this at your fingertips. You're going to get training. It's going to help you understand everything you need to invest in cryptocurrency. So exchanges, security, wallet storage, it's all there. It's ready for you. Imagine you probably know more than 90% of the people out there right now about cryptocurrency. Just sitting through this free presentation, free training, imagine what the paid training does for you. So it's very awesome, and it's going to get you up to speed in a hurry. You're going to know more than 98% of the market out there. Now, you'll get access to our exclusive monthly newsletter, which has both the big cap coin of the month and a small cap coin of the month. It'll let you know what coins to buy before the masses. You'll get access to all of our winning ICO picks, Roger's winning ICO picks. Not public information, but every time Roger buys an ICO, he'll tell you, hey, I just bought this, here is why, et cetera, et cetera. This is invaluable stuff. You'll get a monthly newsletter full of topics, tricks, tips for crypto enthusiasts, and you get a message from Roger on the state of the market. A Facebook group dedicated to paid members where you'll ask your questions and have informative discussion with Roger and his team of analysts. That's a worldwide group, people from all over the world. You'll get a weekly Q&A call with Roger to ask him any questions that you have so you can discuss cryptocurrency. That's Insider Circle members only, and it's an awesome, awesome call. It's a face-to-face Zoom call, so the questions can be asked in real time. Motivational Monday. So motivational and inspirational help for the investors. So you're not living on an island. You're part of our community, and we share things that have helped us as investors to temper our enthusiasm when things are great, boost our morale when things aren't going the way we like it. Because, hey, let's face it, financial markets are up and down, up and down. That's just the way markets are, okay? It's an unhealthy market goes no place but up, and it's never going to happen. And so you got to have this. It's very important and a big part of what we do. Tech Thursday, one of my favorites too, because I'm not techie. So if you're like me and you're not very techie, and your idea of tech is when someone says algorithm, you feel like, oh yeah, that means tech. I don't know what that is, but that's exciting. So if you are like me and you have these exchange and security questions, you're going to get them answered each Thursday on our weekly calls devoted to you. You don't have questions, don't show up. If you do have questions, you get them answered right there. Now, we talked about this a little bit, so I want to give you one final note here. That, as you know, we all talk about, I wish I'd have bought Amazon when. I wish I'd have invested in internet companies when. We know that most of the profit is made when you get in early. The guy that gets in late is not going to profit as much as the guy and gal that get in early. We already talked to you about you did not miss out, right? There is still time, but time's running out. What do I mean by that? So remember that market cap I was talking about? It's about 500 billion. Well, just a few months ago, it was as low as 100 billion. So the market is going up. It's blowing up. It's unheard of for markets to 4x in such a short period of time. So you have to understand that this is happening before Main Street. And as Roger talked about earlier, Main Street is coming to this market, and then it's going to exponentially go through the roof. You want to be involved right now. So don't wait. Don't be the guy or the gal that 4 years from now, 5 years from now, has to tell their wife or husband, hey, honey, I was on this webinar and I heard these guys and they were really cool. And the one dude was really smart. And I don't know about the other guy, but they were talking about this crypto stuff and I just sort of ignored it. Don't be that person, because in 5 years, this market's going to be way bigger than it is today. And if you listen to us, you're going to profit, most likely. If you don't, then you may miss out, and you don't want to do that. So it's time to go here, join the Insider Circle today. Now we're going to answer some questions for you. So do this for me. I'm going to start out with a few questions that we normally get, and we'll go through it. So here's the link, by the way, again, if you need the link, digitalcurrencyindex.io. So there you go. So, all right, start with the first question that we always get. What is your refund policy? Hey, here's the deal. We don't have a refund policy, and I do that intentionally. So if you come in at $397 or $24.97, you are in. I do that intentionally because I don't want tire kickers. I want people who want to invest. I want people who want to play this game and dive into this game. A lot of times people just come in, they want to look around, they don't do anything with it. They ask for a refund. It generates lots of different things for our team, for people that aren't serious, and so we just don't do it. So if you come in with us, there's no refunds. Now, I want to also say that if you're a tire kicker, that's okay. Just don't buy, because that's okay. We'll just, we'll do what we do over here. You do what you do over there, and peace and love, peace and love. Now, with that being said, can I cancel the monthly at any time? Yes, you can. So if you come in now at $397 and then you decide next month, gosh, I thought it was for me, but it wasn't for me. I don't know why you would decide that personally, but let's face it, you might, and I don't know you. So if you decide that, then that's cool. Then you cancel anytime. Just shoot us an email to our support email, and we'll cancel you, and you won't be billed for the next installment. No worries. Do we take cryptocurrency as payment? Yes, we do. If you would like to pay in Ethereum for your annual membership, we take Ethereum for annual memberships. You can email us at support@digitalcurrencyindex.io, and one of our team members will take your cryptocurrency payment. And so those are the initial questions that I have there. And so let's start going into the Q&A, Roger, shall we?
Perfect.
All right, so guys, yeah, if you want to start, let's start, and we'll read the question out loud, then we'll answer the question. If you have some questions, start typing them in, and let's have a robust and fun Q&A. And if you don't mind, just say who the first name is that said the question.
Yeah, Janet actually had a couple good questions, but then she left. So we'll circle back to those if we have time. Let's see here. Daryl, are all of your picks long-term, or do you give short-term or mid-term indicators? I think that's what you meant by all of the initials. So Albert works in the long-term world. Our analysts work with some of the mid-term style. We don't really do much in the short-term way, although there are some projects and some trainings that will help you with that if that's something that you're looking for. Daryl also asked, use CoinMarketCap. We can get info on what each ICO are into detail. Not quite sure I understand. CoinMarketCap does not list ICOs. CoinMarketCap lists projects after they've come to market and have been picked up by a major exchange. CoinMarketCap is a great place to go do research about where you can buy a specific coin.
Roger, can I say something real quick about the short-term, long-term thing?
Sure.
I always find that to be interesting because everybody's definition of short-term and long-term is different. So somebody says to me long-term, I think 5 years, right? As an investor, I'm like, oh, 5 years, right? Maybe longer. And if somebody says short-term, I'm thinking 3 to 6 months is short-term. And sometimes in cryptocurrency, short-term has become a couple of weeks. And you might find that some of the things that Roger tells you to buy, they go up in a very short term. But I think it depends on what is your definition of short term, what's your definition of long term. Because the definition is different in this market than it is in traditional markets. And Roger, the longest term you normally predict is about 12 months.
Yeah, and it really comes down to the available amount of data in the market only allows us to forecast out so far. Now, 12 months from now, when we've got 2.5, 3 years of good data, we'll be able to predict out further. But we kind of target, if we make an investment, we plan on being in it for about 12 months. Always looking for opportunities to exit a part of it early if the opportunity comes, but we're 12 month, and to me 12 month is kind of the midterm indicator.
Roger, let me just say something real quick. I think there was a question that I wanted to address real quick. Cindy, so Cindy's got a question. Cindy, I see your question. Send an email to support@digitalcurrencyindex.io and we'll get you taken care of, okay? So no sweat. Cool. Yeah, so just we'll get you taken care of. Okay, so cool. And so go ahead, Roger.
Yeah, I see the question. What is a good amount of money to have to start? So Rob, we say that you should have about $2,000 to be able to put into the market if you're going to join our inner circle. It'll give you an opportunity to get the full index allocation this month, and it'll allow you to start to ride some of the trends that are going to come over the next few months. That's a good starting point. Now, if you have more, there's a lot more that you can do with some of the other opportunities that come up. But if you've got less, you know what, it might be a good idea just to hop over onto Coinbase, pick up some Bitcoin, Ethereum, and Litecoin, and then just maybe give it a little bit of time until you can get some more resources together. Like, I don't need to sell you on this group. I want to make sure that if you come into it, John and I both want to make sure that you're going to be successful. So have about $2,000 to jump in, and you'll be ready to rock and roll.
Well, and I'd like to answer that too, is because I think that's a good question, Rob. Not more than $1 that you can't afford to lose. So if you've got $1 million that you can afford to lose, then that's a conversation. If you don't have $2,000 that you can't afford to lose, then absolutely not. So I want to make that clear. Just because, you know, we love the market, but you don't ever want to do anything that you can't afford.
Yeah, and you know what, John, something too, like I'm reading Market Wizards from our meeting in San Diego last week, and it's like the one point that the guy keeps making and the way that he mentions it, I think is really cool. And it's not about that you can't afford to lose it, so you shouldn't do it. It's just that 100% of the mistakes that are made by investors are made when they invest money that they can't afford to lose. Therefore, psychologically, they make bad decisions. And that's what it really comes down to. And the way that the guy dissects that topic is freaking brilliant. So I'll share more about that. I was just reading that tonight, so I thought that was a cool segue into my education.
Awesome.
Do you have any comments on Monday's article in the Wall Street Journal about Bitcoin exchanges that recently got hacked and ways to avoid getting caught up on this? Janet, Janet's off, but I think it's a great question because one of the core things that you'll find in our training is that we teach you how to get into the markets through exchanges, buy your assets, and then get them off of the exchanges just as fast and put them into storage that is much more secure. And I don't think that most other training programs out there do that, because even our algorithms are designed first for risk mitigation and then for profit seeking. Now, why is that? Well, I've been an institutional investor for a long time. I don't need to go after the biggest returns in the world. I need to make sure that the investments that I make are going to be safe and that the returns are going to follow. I'll take a smaller percentage to know that I've got a higher probability of success. Any comments on recent SEC warning? And I could ignore these SEC questions, but I think I want to, I know I want to concentrate on, because I think they are the dynamic at which the next bull market's going to come from. How serious and possibly influence the future of cryptocurrency? What about the recent credit card companies preventing purchase of Bitcoin? How do you get around this? This is important. Why are credit card companies limiting the purchase of Bitcoin? Well, they're beginning to realize that Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies are threatening their business model. So they're going to try to keep them down. They're going to fail as the exchanges become brokerage platforms and they're integrated at a higher level into the financial services market. And I have been saying since we launched this project in July of 2017, and you can read it in every article that's ever been published about our business, that I welcome SEC regulation because it gives us legitimacy. Now, that does mean that there are times when news comes out and the market overreacts to it because people are investing psychologically and emotionally instead of statistically. And that's just, it's going to happen. It's going to continue to happen for a good part of this year. That's an opportunity for those that understand what's happening and can take advantage of it. And on the other side of that is really where the growth is going to happen. That's what I'm really excited about.
Oh, sorry. I thought you were done there. Two things. Yeah, we love the SEC here, like for real. And we welcome the regulations, as Roger said. And Roger, I want to offer a different opinion on the credit card thing. Here's the thing that people don't understand, and I was in banking for years. So when your banking institution gives you a credit card, then that's their money you're spending. And they can decide where you're going to spend that money. And what they found is that a lot of times people would try to go invest, right, but gamble on a lot of this stuff, and then they would charge back the credit card company. And so they don't want to deal with that issue. Now, if you have a debit card, then you can go all day and spend that money at an exchange. But if you've got a credit card, banks are not honoring that. And I don't really have a problem with that. I mean, that's their money. So I totally get it, and I'm okay with it.
And that makes sense too. I couldn't argue with that at all. David asks, why has South Korea, China, and India barred their citizens from trading in crypto? Because their governments don't control it and then they can't tax it. That's exactly why. And you're actually incorrect on the South Korea side. South Korea said they were going to, but then actually backtracked and now has come 180 degrees into supporting it. China and India, not so much.
I want to say too, on this exchange thing, you're exactly right. If people get this thing that governments want to control you and governments want to do this, governments want to get paid. That's what governments want to do. And so, because they've got to get that tax money in. One of the reasons that the SEC wants to regulate exchanges, they do it under the umbrella of safety for their citizens, but they really want to do it so they can tax your ass. And it's very important to understand that that governments are going to continue to play with this until they can figure out a reason to tax it. That's what they want to do. They don't want to eliminate it. They want to tax it, just like everything else. There's a very important distinction, Roger, that I want to make.
Yeah, and 2 states in the U.S. have now started accepting cryptocurrency, i.e. Bitcoin, in order to pay taxes because they realize that it's probably going to be the only way that they're going to get people to pay it if they can't actually track it. Daryl, you asked about a specific coin. We're not going to jump into individual coins because I don't think that would be fair because we wouldn't have the time to give you the in-depth analysis that you would need to make smart decisions. But that is something that we definitely do in the group. Kevin, so the training is conducted at the Monday and Thursday phone-in. So Kevin, there's training going on all the time. What's most important is that it's being done on Zoom. It's being recorded. It's being shared via Facebook Live to the private group, and then those recordings are put in the members area. We do the trainings at different times on each day, so that some of them are done in the morning, some of them are done in the afternoon, trying to accommodate people from all across the globe. And then the recordings are there if we can't get you in a time zone that we can get you. So there's a lot of thought that goes into how we distribute data and information to you so that everyone can take advantage and have access to it.
Yeah, and if for some reason you can't, so we have a lot of training in the group already that's not live, that's just in there for you to access. But if for some reason you want to get on a live call, you want to ask a question, but you're not going to be able to make it, maybe you got work, maybe you got a meeting, maybe you got to watch your kid like I do sometimes, and you just type in a question to support and we'll get an answer for you, and then you can watch it on the recorded version.
Can I access everything on a cell phone when I'm down in Mexico playing? Absolutely. The one thing that we just recently started doing specifically for that was for those that couldn't get on Zoom or couldn't call in is broadcasting those live through Zoom webinars on our Facebook Live, which I was super excited about because I'm a nerd, so that everybody has a way to consume the information the way that works best for them. Are the Rothschilds going to create the Fed coin disrupting Bitcoin? I don't know that the Rothschilds are going to create it, but there are government cryptocurrencies coming out. We just did an hour-long training on government cryptocurrencies and the opportunity that comes from those, not the threat. And I would highly recommend that once you're in the group to take a look at that. Again, it was an hour-long conversation, and most people would be surprised that most of the world's major economies will be digital by 2020, which is only 2 years away, and that cash is going to be a bygone of the past.
Yeah, let me jump in on that too without beating Kevin up, but I think it's a question that we get a lot because a lot of the people in the cryptocurrency market have this us against them mentality against the government. And I certainly don't have that kind of mentality. I mean, I'm not a huge government fan, but the bottom line is nobody's looking to disrupt Bitcoin, okay? They don't care about disrupting Bitcoin. And Bitcoin, as we know it, really isn't used that much as a currency anyway. So as my wife said, don't relate to Bitcoin as a currency, relate to it as a technology in the multiple uses, and understand that the governments don't want to disrupt anything. They want to get paid. So if the government starts going to cryptocurrency, it's so that they can track something and get paid. Just understand that. So kind of take the conspiracy theory out of it. It's all a game and it's all capitalism.
Yeah, there's a lot of money to be made in this market playing it the way that Wall Street is playing it. You can fight against them or you can make money. That's the way that I look at it. Do you have an app for this to access? Now, understand that all of the stuff that we talk about from the membership perspective, you'll have to be a member to access, but we are launching our own portfolio manager tool and comparative analysis tool and data-driven app, which I'm super excited about, but then again, I'm a nerd. The dollar was supposed to be backed by gold. Sergio, the dollar was backed by gold up until 1903.
Okay, hang on. Read that out loud so everybody can hear it.
Sergio, his question was, the dollar was supposed to be backed by gold. Venezuela is making their own petro backed by their oil. What exactly is Bitcoin backed by? So the dollar hasn't been backed by gold since the early 1900s. Venezuela is supposedly in a pre-ICO stage that closed and raised a couple $100 million or close to $1 billion, but no one can actually verify whether or not that actually happened. And Bitcoin is backed by demand. The same thing that the US dollar is backed by, the euro is backed by. If nobody wants it, nobody's willing to spend it, then you have what Venezuela has, which is 1,400% hyperinflation month over month to the point that their currency is worthless and no one wants it. All currencies are backed by demand.
Yeah, and here's the go ahead, sorry.
Yeah, well, so Bitcoin could collapse. Well, you mentioned Venezuela. So Venezuela's collapsed. Their currency is worth nothing. So your point is mute. Any currency can collapse if demand is not there, or if a government continues to print it to the point where there's so much of it that it's not worth anything, which is what happens in most countries. So we're just going to leave that one alone. You can go down that rabbit hole if you want, but you're missing the point. Kat, any thoughts on Amazon possibly allowing consumers to be able to use Bitcoin crypto? We're watching that all the time. There's been a lot of people that have talked about that in the past, and really what we look at is once it's regulated, once the SEC has a firm understanding and control of the way that people access it, they've taken control of the ICO market starting today. They started taking control of the exchanges. Once it's all regulated properly and it's no longer a gray area, Amazon will 100% adopt it. Before that, there's no real need for them to do that. And the other thing that you have to understand is Amazon's margins are paper thin. If they're going to get hit with a point on exchange, that is as much as 30% of their margin in some of their divisions. They just don't have the margin for it. They don't need to. They're the world's largest marketplace, and they're growing like crazy, and they're going into everything, to healthcare, into food delivery. Banking is their new thing. I do think that banking is their next forte into, okay, we've got a financial services business. Now we can direct exchange cryptocurrency on our own and not pay that point and affect our margin. So when regulation is in place and when Amazon's new banking is in place, if they don't get broken up from an antitrust perspective, you'll see them rock and roll.
I was getting ready to say, the minute that Amazon tries to do that, it is antitrust city. So just, you heard it here first.
Yep. Ooh, that was fun. Those are some good questions, John.
Yeah, we've had some really good ones. If you guys have additional questions, ask them in here. If you've got a question about the training, anything that you've got, let's go ahead and we'll take a few last questions. You guys have been a great group. It's been a lot of fun. Really enjoyed it. You're welcome, Kat. Thanks for the kind words. And, for you folks out there that, everything is sort of going to the world markets here, and cryptocurrency is here to stay. I want you to get that moral out of this presentation. I also want you to get that you didn't miss out. In fact, you're super early if you get in right now. And if you're the person looking for holes, that's okay. You'll find them. You'll find them in anything. So just understand that. Anybody else? Any last call for questions? All right, it looks like we're good to go here, Roger. I don't see any additional questions. I want to thank everybody for being on here. A great group of people, and so let's see here. All right, guys. Roger, any last words? Any last thoughts?
I always like to close these out with, I had 2 points to this. The first one is to educate you, give you a glimpse into the transition that's happening in the world and what that means from an opportunity perspective for you. The second is get into the markets. We will be here when you're ready to work with us. And if you're ready now, we're excited to have you in the group. We've got a lot of great things going on in there. But if you're not, open up your Coinbase account. Buy a little bit of Bitcoin, Ethereum, or Litecoin. If you only got $100, just buy one. I just want to get you in the market, because by being in the market, we get greater adoption. We have greater opportunity for all of us. And I know, because it's been proven time and time again, where people come into the group a month later and they're like, Roger, I got in, I started researching, I got excited, I needed to know more, I'm here, what can we do together? And that's really when I get excited. So get in the markets, and I super appreciate everyone taking the time to learn about this amazing wealth creation opportunity.
Yeah, thank you guys. Rob, welcome to the group. He said he's in on yearly rate. Excited to have you. Guys, thanks so much. Gals, thanks so much for your time. We know it's valuable and appreciate it. So thanks everybody, and have a good morning, good night, wherever you are.
Thank you. Bye.